When King Zhuang of Chu succeeded to the throne in 613 BC, his state stood in peril. Few could have guessed that the young man who filled his days with hunting and feasting would one day have the whole of Chinese civilization in his guardianship. By the start of the 7th century BC, the Zhou dynasty, nominal rulers of the states of central China, was in serious decline. The power of the ruling house had never recovered from the sack of its western capital in 771 BC. After decades of barbarian invasions and disputes among the vassal lords themselves, in 681 BC, there emerged one state ruler with the power to rally or coerce the others in the name of the kings of Zhou, Duke Huan of Qi, the first hegemon overlord of the spring and autumn period. Chu, the expansionist state on the southern borders of the Zhou domains, had found itself held in check by Duke Huan and the alliance of states he had mustered behind him. After Duke Huan died in 643 BC, King Cheng of Chu decided to recommence his aborted expansion plans. However, a new hegemony emerged. Duke Wen of Jin, who decisively defeated the Chu army at the Battle of Chengpu. In 628 BC, King Cheng was overthrown by his eldest son, Prince Shang Chen, when the aging king attempted to alter the succession. His unforgiving eldest son forced his father to commit suicide and succeeded to the throne as King Mu of Chu. King Mu's early reign was dominated by the hegemony of Duke Mu of Qin, who allied Qin and Jin to keep Chu in check. However, Chu was able to keep expanding eastwards down the Yangtze River. In 613 BC, King Mu's son came to the throne as King Zhuang of Chu. He was still a teenager, and for 3 years appeared to be interested in nothing more than pursuing his own pleasures. The state seemed to be sliding into chaos and eclipse. Then one day a worried minister dared to admonish the young monarch with a riddle. There appeared a strange bird in the southern mountains. It is as huge as the great eagle of myth, but for 3 years it sits quiet and motionless. How strange this is. King Zhuang answered, "It is an unusual bird. It may remain motionless for 3 years, but when it flies, it will soar in the sky. It may remain quiet for 3 years, but when it calls, it will startle all men." It seems that behind the playboy facade, King Zhuang had been making his plans.
楚国在城濮之战当中的使命，使得这一些原本归附于楚国的小国，纷纷都转向投奔到晋国的怀抱里去了。北边没有屏障了，楚国是直接置于晋国的威胁之下。
北扑啊，包括是庸国啦等等这些少数民族建立的一些国家，他们经常的是对楚国进行一些挑衅，偷袭楚国，让楚国感到疲于应付。这是国际背景。国内呢，就是楚王的一些盘根错节的那种集团、卿大夫，他们之间的矛盾越来越突出。
When King Zhuang of Chu first succeeded the throne, he was faced with a divided court political and military power was in the hands of a few key ministers. King Zhuang himself was little more than a figurehead. The young king decided to bide his time. For the first 3 years of his reign, he seems to have abandoned himself to pleasure, ignoring affairs of state, as well as the misdeeds of his ministers. However, he was quietly assessing the situation and which men he could trust and rely on. He waited to pick his moment. In 611 BC, Chu was struck by a series of natural disasters, leading to a famine. As the chaos grew, minor states along its borders rebelled, threatening to overthrow King Zhuang. While his ministers urged him to flee the capital for his own safety, the 20-year-old king announced that he himself would lead the army to put down the rebels. The crisis provided the opportunity to assert himself that King Zhuang had been waiting for. His strategy was to continuously fall back before the rebel army, luring it into a succession of ambushes while stretching its supplies. In the meantime, he made secret alliances with the Ba and the state of Qin to the west, both of whom sent troops to support him. His success was swift and complete. The rebellion was crushed, and the state of Yang, leader of the uprising, was annexed. The Chu, officials and people alike, were impressed by their young king's sudden turnabout. About 60 kilometers south of the former Eastern Zhou capital at Luoyang lies a large body of water, the Hoon Reservoir. The waters snake their way through steep-sided mountains. In the spring and autumn period, the area was inhabited by wild tribesmen. Banditry flourished, preying on travelers and the settled peasant population. In 606 BC, King Zhuang led an expedition to pacify the area and restore order. Once again, his objectives were swiftly achieved. But instead of returning south to Chu, he led his army north to the outskirts of Luoyang. King Zhuang and his army stopped at the Luoshui River. On the other side stood the Eastern Zhou capital. Chu, a state for centuries ignored, disparaged, and persecuted by the powers of the Central Plains, was now poised to take control of the symbolic heart of the dynasty. The hot-blooded young king of Chu could not resist the temptation to avenge the honor of his ancestors. He ordered his army to parade in all its strength on the south bank of the river.
那个楚国随着他的势力不断的北渐，所以他有问鼎中原的雄心，在这个王朝的郊区进行阅兵式示威，而且毫不掩饰自己要夺取中原政权的那种野心，去问鼎中原。
The display caused consternation in the capital city. The Zhou king sent his senior minister, Wong to negotiate with the Chu. King Zhuang is supposed to have asked the minister, what is the weight of the 9 great cauldrons in the palace of the Zhou dynasty? This was a highly impertinent question. The great cast bronze cauldrons were the symbols of the ruling authority of the Zhou. Wong answered, they are too weighty to be measured. King Zhuang responded, if I gathered all the blades from the army of Chu, I would have more than enough bronze to make 9 great cauldrons. To this, Wong gave his famous response, the king of Zhou's right to rule comes from his virtue, not from bronze.
王生满这一句不卑不亢的话，给了楚庄王很大的触动。
并不是因为9个鼎有多重他才做天子，是因为他的德行高他才做的天子。实际上有暗含着对楚庄王的一个讥讽。
通过王生满的对话，他认识到，不能光凭军事实力。周天子几百年而没有倒，就在于他有深厚的文化根基。这种软实力并非一而之功，楚国还达不到那种程度，所以时机不成熟，楚庄王放弃。
A chastened and thoughtful King Zhuang led his army back home to Chu. Before his encounter with Wong King Zhuang was confident that his army was powerful enough to conquer the Central Plains. He now realized that military might, without moral authority, would only engender rebellions and never-ending warfare. Chu, in the eyes of the civilized states in the Central Plains, was still semi-barbarian.
首先，楚国的语言、风俗、习惯，处处都跟中原不同。中原诸侯的语言呐，叫雅言，又叫夏言，就是周朝的国语，而楚国人所说的呢是楚言。这种语言呢，跟中原语言是截然不同。比如楚国人称主帅呢叫莫敖，称原野呢叫孟，称这个老虎呢叫斑。 那么在其他习俗上也有很多不同。你比如周朝呢是以右为尊，楚国呢却是以左为尊；中原是以龙为尊，楚国却是以凤为尊。中原的墓葬都是头朝北，脚朝南，而楚国贵族的墓葬呢，头呢却是朝着东方。
Social order in the Zhou dynasty was based on a ritual system as described in the Book of Rites. It defined every relationship and everybody's rights and obligations within a particular relationship. According to these values, it was a violation of the rights for the Viscounts of Chu to claim to be kings, as only the kings of the Zhou dynasty were entitled to that title. The bloody nature of Chu's succession struggles were seen as confirmation of its semi-barbarian status. When Confucius compiled his history, the Spring and Autumn Annals, he never refers to the rulers of Chu as kings. Instead, he calls them Viscounts or Barons of Chu. Chu had a long history of conquest and territorial expansion, uncivilized behavior when judged by the standards of the rights. In the Spring and Autumn period, the only justification for war was the rectification of injustice and the reestablishment of order. Or at least that was the theory. But whatever the hypocrisy, the states of the Central Plains could not but see Chu as dangerous southern barbarians. However, King Zhuang differed from his predecessors in the impact that Wong Sun Man's admonishment made on him. He came to understand that real and lasting power is the power of a just civilization that conquers the hearts of men. At Xinyang in Henan province, you can see China's first water management project. Chisa Bay was built more than 2,600 years ago and is still used for flood control and irrigation of farmland. It was built by Sun Xuao, whose statue still surveys the scene. King Zhuang recognized Sun's ability and promoted him to be his chief minister.
孙叔敖在担任令尹之后呢，就采取了固农本、导民力这样的政策。他根据楚国呀这个水系发达、河湖众多这样的特点呢，就兴修水利来发展农业，形成了南北灌溉网络。这个呢，给楚庄王的争霸奠定了物质基础。
As Prime Minister, Sun Xuao built a prosperous economy for the state of Chu, based on agriculture, manufacturing, and commerce. Chu's newfound wealth allowed it to indulge in the sort of cultural development that today we might call soft power. In the 1970s, archaeologists found many tombs from the mid and late spring and autumn period at Sichuan in Henan, then part of the state of Chu. Compared with earlier tombs, these were no longer mere imitations of those found on the Central Plains, but expressed a new and distinctive design ethos, while an abundance of funerary objects attests the wealth they enjoyed. King Zhuang knew he had to establish his moral credentials if he was to compete for the ultimate power of hegemony across the civilized world. He deliberately began to promote a system of rights in his court and among the upper classes.
庄王的时候有一个茅门之法，文武官员到了这个楚国宫廷外的一道门茅门的时候要下马，
如果冲撞了这个大门，或者是你的马车踩到了那个滴水，那个屋檐的滴水的话，你就应该受到惩罚，或者是会把你的车室横木把它斩断等等。但是太子就觉得我是什么人呐、我也应该受这种惩罚吗？他就偏不信这个邪。
庄王的太子有急事要进宫去见庄王，这个车就溅到了这个无檐的这个下水沟。那么当时这个廷里就是司法官，就把这个太子的车辕斩断了，而且呢还杀了太子的这个驾车的这个人。太子为此呢就非常气愤，就是到楚庄王来去告状，要求楚庄王去严惩这个廷里。
King Zhuang told the crown prince, "The purpose of law is to establish respect for the authority of the temple and the state, so those who enforce the law are pillars of our administration. How can we kill men as such?" This attitude of propriety, taking precedence over privilege, helped King Zhuang earn respect from those on the Central Plains. In order to build a culture in accordance with the rights of the Central Plains, King Zhuang encouraged the aristocracy in his kingdom to study the ancient classics and put their traditional teachings into practice. Soon the envoys of Chu were able to quote as freely from classics, like the Book of Poetry, as any officials of the Central Plains. In 595 BC, the 18th year of his reign, King Zhuang launched an expedition against Zhang. The state of Zhang sat between Chu and Jin. The rulers of Zhang had long played a difficult juggling act between their more powerful neighbors. If Chu could control Zhang, it would control the route through the Central Plains. After 3 months under siege, Duke Xiang of Zhang surrendered. To save his state in this extreme moment, he made the most abject submission in accordance with the Book of Rights. Stripping naked to the waist, he walked carrying a lamb to meet King Zhuang and beg his mercy. King Zhuang's advisors urged the king to kill his captive and annex his state. But King Zhuang pardoned Duke Xiang and agreed to negotiate a peace with Zhang. This display of mercy convinced many other states that Chu was no longer the barbarian state it used to be. Chu was not only trying to abide by the system of rights established by the Zhou dynasty, but also to become a guardian of that order. Some years earlier, when rioting broke out in Chu's neighboring state of Chen, King Zhuang sent troops to restore order. After this had been achieved, King Zhuang proposed to absorb Chen as a county of Chu.
这个时候，这个楚庄王的大臣，这个孙守时，向他进谏，这个给他讲一个道理。
他说：“打比方说，一个人，他的牛吃了你的庄稼，是吧？ 那么你惩罚他不就行了吗？你凭什么还要把他的牛一直掠夺过来成为你的呢？这就告诉楚庄王，你让别人臣服了就行了，你还是恢复他的国家，让他对你俯首，不是俯首称臣，叫俯首听命就行了。你真的犯不着把他灭掉。
King Zhuang listened to his minister's advice and gave up the plan to seize Chen. Instead, he found the heir of the Duke of Chen and helped him restore his dukedom. When Confucius came to read about it, he praised King Zhuang for his righteous behavior. It was quite a first for Chu to be noted for its virtues rather than its vices. With attitudes across the Middle Kingdom changing, King Zhuang saw a path to the role of hegemon. Duke Wen of Qi was nearly 50 years in his grave, and Duke Wen of Jin had been dead for 10 years. None had risen to fill their place, and none among the dukes or marquises, let alone the kings of Zhou, seemed fitted to the role. With a flourishing economy and a strong moral code based on the Book of Rights, the state of Chu was enjoying something of a golden age under its now mature and experienced monarch. King Zhuang was but one step away from commanding all states of China. All he needed was one opportunity. The opportunity arose in 597 BC when Jin and Chu armies confronted one another on the banks of the Yellow River. The issue of dispute was, once again, the loyalty of the state of Jiang. In the spring and autumn period, the etiquette of battle was that it should begin with a chariot duel, witnessed by both armies. The chariot usually carried an archer, a swordsman, and the driver. According to commentary of Zor, King Zhuang put his 3 most skillful warriors in the chariot to intimidate the Jin army.
口径之战之事就是楚人他做了一个我们现在也可以说是秀，一种表演。驾车的人他表演是什么？他快速的接近对方，快速的撤回原地。第二个就是车右表演，车右就是说他快速的接近对方。 而且他能够把对方的头割下或者耳朵割下。那么车左是怎么呢？他杀死对方的一个将领，杀死对方一个士兵。在这种情况，他迅速的替换车中，他去驾车。这一个动作也在一刹那之间完成。所以说， 楚国的这3个人都表演得非常完美，让对方叹为观止。
The Jin warriors on the other chariot were not intimidated. They pursued the Chu chariot, even as the Chu archer kept shooting at them. When the Chu archer was down to his last arrow, a deer ran between the 2 chariots. The Chu archer shot the deer and then presented it to the Jin warriors as a gift.
一个反映到楚国的车兵，他的技术已经是非常精湛；另一个方面呢，说楚人也渐渐的在接受周礼。你不是要遵循周礼吗？我就按照周礼规定的那一套表演给你看一看，既展示了自己的实力，也表示了自己是在遵循周礼。
After the chariot duel, the Chu army launched a sudden attack on the Jin, which caught the latter by surprise. The Jin fell back and found themselves trapped against the river. Panic reigned as they tried to flee across the water, with men, horses, and chariots all floundering in the mud. But rather than pursue and slaughter their defenseless foe, the Chu army stood its ground and even shouted encouragement to the Jin soldiers to help them flee.
晋军觉得很没面子啊，打了败仗本来就是没有面子的事情，现在打了败仗连逃跑都要人家叫，更没有面子了。所以呢，他自己给自己下台阶啊。他说我们晋国啊，自城濮之战以来总是打胜仗，没有逃跑的经验。 啊，不像你们楚国啊，老是打败仗，所以呢有丰富的逃跑经验，所以呢，今天让你们教了一招了，啊，谢谢了，跟着把他跑了。
这个时候，如果楚人趁难追击的话，那么晋军必死无疑。但是楚人没这样做。我现在应该有一种大国的气度。楚国到现在这个份儿上，说我要想灭你是很简单的，就在眼前，但是我可以放你一马。 让你知道我是遵循礼义的，我是有大国风度的。
The moral standards and blood ties of the aristocracy played an important role in the history of ancient China, just as elsewhere and at other times. In 1688, King James II and IV of England and Scotland was deposed in the Glorious Revolution in favor of his daughter, Queen Mary II, and her husband, Prince William of Orange. The imprisoned king was treated respectfully by his nephew and son-in-law, now William III.
欧洲政治当中呢，有一个类似的传统，就是做过国王的人，即使被从王位上推下来，也会受到必要的礼遇，这个是骑士精神的表现。因此，你看欧洲权力斗争中的那些失败者，很少有被处死的。人们无法容忍一个国王杀掉另一个国王，他们不是不知道养虎遗患的道理，可是呢，就是不愿意破坏自己的骑士风度。
One day, King James saw a ship close to the shore. He slipped his guard and boarded the ship, sailing to take refuge with another relation, his cousin, King Louis XIV of France. The escape didn't happen by accident. In fact, it was William III who planned it, in order to get rid of the problem of what to do with a man who was his uncle, his father-in-law, and his predecessor as king. The following year, 1689, James landed in Ireland with French support and raised an army to try to regain his 3 kingdoms of Ireland, England, and Scotland. William was forced to withdraw troops from his war with France on the European mainland in order to counter the threat. James was defeated at the Battle of Boyne in 1690 and fled to France once again. His flight after the battle damned his cause for the rest of his lifetime. In these few short years, as the destiny of the nations of Europe was being continually contested, the rules of social and political etiquette still triumphed over victory on the battlefield. In the spring and autumn period, the Chinese aristocracy, like that of medieval or early modern Europe, saw honor on the battlefield as essential to a leader's standing. In the state of Qin, when selecting an heir to the throne, the most important consideration was whether the candidate had the quality of courage. The commentary of Zor has no place for warriors who evaded their enemies. The virtue of martial courage was essential in proving a leader's right to rule. Death in battle was seen as an honor to be esteemed over a life dishonored by fear and flight. King Zheng of Chu's rout of the Jin army at the Battle of Bi gave it military supremacy over the states of the Central Plains. But could it demonstrate the moral authority for hegemony?
金冠就是把敌人的尸首，把它堆起来，然后配上风头，做成一个很大的类似我们现在埃及金字塔这样的一种大的坟墓。它的目的是在于炫耀。
为了让后人知道他们的祖先曾经打了多么大的胜仗，是一种荣耀。
King Zhuang's ministers suggested that the bodies of his Jin enemies should be piled in a type of victory mound. The king would have none of it. For King Zhuang, the purpose of war had changed. He now saw it thus. Military action has 7 functions: to curb violence, to prevent wars, to defend power, to expand wealth, to make a society peaceful, to make people live in harmony, and to consolidate previous achievements.
他说，一个国君呢，只有做到这7件，才能够让后世永远不忘。 而现在，我们让2国的子弟暴尸荒野，这个是一种残暴的行为。在这场战争中阵亡的这些晋国将士们，他们都是为国家尽忠的。我怎么能够用他们的尸体建筑京关呢？所以周庄王下令呢，把这些晋国阵亡的将士的尸体妥加埋葬，自己呢在黄河边上祭祀了河神，然后就退去了。
King Zhuang explained to his ministers how the Chinese character for things military or martial was made up of 2 parts. He believed the true purpose of military action was to prevent violent conflict. King Zhuang's new philosophy of war was a milestone in the history of Chu. It signified that Chu had moved from a state bent on aggressive expansionism to one that sought to preserve the settled order and respect the rights of the Zhou. King Zhuang's demonstrations of mercy and respect for his enemies earned him allegiance from the other smaller states, such as Song and Jiang. The power of Jin was curtailed. King Zhuang was now the great hegemony overlord of the Middle Kingdom. A century later, in 493 BC, Confucius, then in his 60s, visited Chu with some of his students. When meeting a local official, Confucius gave high praise to King Zhuang. He called King Zhuang a truly virtuous ruler. After defeating his enemies, he pardoned them and made peace with them. King Zhuang's actions followed in the spirit of Confucius' most admired historical figure, the Duke of Zhou. With the hegemony of Chu established, King Zhuang recognized a new threat to the civilization of the Central Plains: the inherent instability of a feudal system based on blood ties or marriages, which provided so few opportunities for ordinary men of real talent and ability.
一天，楚庄王在宫中召集大臣们开会，跟每次会议一样，楚庄王提出一个问题，大臣们总是在那儿面面相觑。 没有谁能拿出高明的见解。最后呢，总是楚庄王一言而决。大臣们纷纷称赞君主决策高明，但是退朝之后呢，楚庄王却深深叹了一口气。申公就问他说：“大王，今天的会开得很顺利，你叹什么气呢？”楚庄王说：“一个国家能否持续兴盛发展，关键是看能不能 持续不断的出现贤才。你看楚国的政治现状，每次都是靠我一个人来决策。一旦我不在了，楚国会变成什么样呢？”
In 591 BC, King Zhuang fell ill and died. His last few days were filled with concern about the future of his state. Few others at the time shared his insight that a prosperous state based on the capabilities of just one individual could never last long.
强人政治事实上并不可取，我们最需要的 还是一种制度。一个历史上出现一个强人，那么这种强人，他凭他的雄才大略，他的确可以在一段时间内使这个国家线上走上一种富强的道路，强大起来。但是由于他没有一系列的规章、一系列的制度，保证他的政令畅通，保证他的一些积极的政策 能够延续，所以当往往这种强人谢幕之后，出现的一种权力的真空，继而就是一种混乱产生。
Shortly after King Zhuang's death, a power struggle did indeed erupt in Chu. Members of the royal family vied with the former king's ministers for influence. Faced with severe persecution, Prime Minister Wu Chen fled Chu. His whole family was then executed and his property seized. Desperate for revenge, Wu Chen turned to the states of Jin and Wu. With his help, Jin and Wu rose quickly in power and began anew to menace Chu. King Zhuang's fears came true. Without his leadership, the glory of Chu soon began to fade. Because the prosperity of the state was built on the vision of one man, when he was gone, the vision was lost. Chu slid into half a century of chaos and decline. King Ling of Chu seized his throne in the traditional manner of his state, regicide. His rule was firm, and his power was so complete that he decided to build for himself the most extravagant palace the world had ever seen. It was an extravagance which would eventually cost him his life.